So hello again. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the second webinar of the European Phenology campaign of the spring campaign this year. And this webinar is called Experience and Love Trees. My name is Lenka Kleger and I'm the coordinator of the campaign, which is coordinated by the Globe Europe and Eurasia Regional Coordination Office, which is located in Prague, Czech Republic, and hosted by Tereza Educational Center. At the webinar today, we will be talking about a slightly different topic that you might be used to from our past webinars. We usually talk about different scientific aspects of trees, how to look at them from the space, how to research carbon cycle and so on. But today we will be talking about our relationship to nature, relationship to trees, how to actually motivate kids to care about trees, how to raise their interest and their sensitivity towards trees, which is a different point of view, but not less important than those that we already talked about. So I hope this will be really interesting and beneficial for you. We will spend together about 1 hour, and during the time, my colleagues Anna Fischerova and Adela Hronová-Hamplová, which are both working at the same organization in Tereza Educational Center, will tell you about the topic, what they will share with you, their experience, which is like a long-term experience in this topic, long-term work with teachers in the Czech Republic, but also from different other countries. So there will be a lot to say. If you during the time have any questions, please feel free to write into the chat. We will get to them during the presentation, or at the end there will be for sure time for your questions. Okay, so I hope it is clear for now. If you have any question, again, you can write to the chat. And with this said, I will give word to Anna and Adela, who will continue and share their experience with us.
So hello, everybody. I'm happy to see so many, well, not faces, screens connected. And I hope this will be useful for you, because I'm the ambassador of the thought that first we must fall in love with something to be able to protect it in the future. And maybe I will share the screen now, and my colleague Anna will tell you why do we do what we do.
Hello, I'll introduce in the meantime myself. I'm Anna, and me and Adela, we work in Tereza in the project called Lessons in Grass. And our mission is to get children outdoors, back outdoors where they belong, because we think that outdoor learning is the most natural form of learning. And I'll make a slight detour and just explain where we are going from or coming from, and why we do what we do. I'm sure you all noticed and you see the change in the childhood that has happened in the last few years. Simple toys are disappearing, as well as simple games. Children spend too much time with their screen, and basically the screen time is their playtime. The times are very horrific, actually, because it's in the United States, it's nearly 6 hours with the media. In Czech Republic, it's slightly less, but it's still a lot. And we decided to do something about it, because in the Czech Republic, it's every second child spends less than 1 hour outdoors. And we try to encourage teachers to start teaching outdoors, because as we see all the results from this state, you know, the overweight and obesity rate is on the rise, and ADHD, and there are all sorts of mental and health issues in children, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of benefits of outdoor learning to children, but a part of the longer period of focus, or they're more interested in what they are learning, there are better relationships in the classroom. But we think that one of the most important aspects of it is that they have better attitudes to the environment when they spend some time outdoors. And that's why we decided to focus this workshop on sensitivity issue, because the importance of the relationship with nature is, in our opinion, very underestimated currently. And if we want our children to have some, in the future, some environmental competencies, we definitely should help them to develop a close connection and relationship with nature. Yeah, that's basically for this part, Adela. And today,
my turn.
Yes, your turn. And I'd like to maybe outline a bit like what's going to happen today. We have it divided into two parts. The first part will be more theoretical, let's say, but you don't have to be scared too much. It won't be very much academic, but we'll talk about some basic principles, how to establish a relationship with nature and how to help the children to establish this relationship. And the second part will be more practical, and Adela will show you some activities and tips, and it'll be more hands-on. So I think that's enough for me for now, and I'll hand it over to Adela.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian, for commenting. You are all welcome to share your comments in the chat. I will be able to respond to them during the whole meeting. And now I ask you to close your eyes and listen to me for a while. I invite you to imagine. Please go back into your childhood. It doesn't matter where do you find yourself. And imagine your favorite spot in nature. May it be a forest, a beautiful meadow. Smell the fragrances around you. Feel the ground under your feet. Touch the objects around you. Do you hear some sounds, maybe? Enjoy the colors you see. And if there is anything edible, try it. You are probably now fully in that place of yours. And you can open your eyes. If you wish, you can share where you have been in the chat. I can tell you all that the reason I am now, I don't know, recycling things and spending time in nature and not going by car everywhere. The real reason lies in my childhood, because I have spent so many hours in that beautiful nature at my grandparents' cottage. I always remember it, and my relationship to nature is very, very strong. And I think that today's children don't have the same opportunities that we had. So this is the reason we try to bring them back to nature, as my colleague said. Now, Anna will tell you a bit more about what do we need to do outside, so it helps children reconnect with nature.
So as you saw, and now you could like live through a bit, the relationship, the nature connection is definitely not formed by in head. We don't develop it with knowledge, we don't develop it with our thoughts. It's the emotional bond, and for that we need positive experiences. And those positive experiences can't be taught at school. Actually, they can't be taught at school like in the normal way of, in the sense of the word, as we all can imagine. But we can lead children to make this connection. And it's through the senses. You can stay here, I don't know. The perception through senses is very important because if we want to highlight some sense, we just use all the mixture of the senses, the combination of them when we are outdoors. But if we want to highlight some of them, it's good to block the others. And the dominant sense for us is, of course, sight. And we use it too much, which is obvious. But it's good to blindfold children and let them experience the other senses, to hear all the sounds, because they all become more visible or intense if we do it. And if we are in nature and we are perceiving nature through the senses, it's not about naming things, about observing natural phenomena, identifying the species, but it's about just being there and becoming like a part of it.
Yeah, I will just jump in shortly. Thank you very much for sharing your places. And you can see very nicely here that you all mentioned some sensual experiences. You felt wind or some nice smells. It's very important, and I suggest that you make this activity with your kids and try to lead them to those favorite places if they have some. I tried once with 15 years old, and some of them didn't have their favorite places. They didn't have any experience of being in nature in a nice place, which was terrifying for me.
It's basically it's like any sort of other like romantic relationships. We form it through emotions, and senses play a very important role in that. Being in nature with children gives a lot of emphasis on being a guide to them, not just being around, but be the role model for them and help them experience the nature. And if you are passionate enough about it, and if you're authentic, you help them to get your mood. And I think the psychology has this word for it. It's imprinting. It works very greatly with especially like younger children. You can see it with babies and small children on everyday basis. but you can definitely be the guide and the gate to nature for the children and lead them step by step. Scenery. Make nature attractive for the children. It's being in nature is very often that we perceive nature as only like the scenery and settings for some other activities, but it's good to focus on where you are, what's happening around, and explore the details. And children are very capable of that, actually way more than adults. Very often it happens when we are walking with small children and they stop, poking with their sticks somewhere or playing with cones. And we are the ones telling them, oh, hey, we have to go and stop playing with the stones and so on. So it's maybe good to have a look at it through the children's eyes sometimes and focus on the details. And you can just definitely, play games around the topic with the details and show all the adventures that can happen in nature and make stories and show it as really like a beautiful wild place full of stories. Yes, knowledge is not enough to build a relationship, as was already said. We recommend not combining the nature sensitivity activities with exploring and doing the science and all the activities full of measuring and so on. Very often when we take children outdoors, they, especially if you start, they are not focused at all. They're just running around and they become wild. And they need some time to perceive nature, to get accommodated in the place, to touch everything, see, feel, and use all their senses. And only then when they just go through this first stage, they experience it on their own skin, then they are able to focus and do some other activities that we can lead them through. Show the kind face of nature. That this is very, very important, that especially if you have children that are not that accommodated in nature, be gentle on them and go step by step, because if they get wet, cold, or hungry as their first initial experience, then it's very hard to fix the negative experience they can get. So make sure that, especially with the newcomers, their experiences are gentle, they're positive, and only on this basis they can proceed and build up some positive relationship to nature, which is what we want. Enjoy minor details. Yeah, I was talking about it already, that you don't have to be in a spectacular place. The nature that you have around you doesn't have to be like this spectacular, beautiful, wild place whatsoever. But you can still find a lot of great things in just focusing on the details. For us, it's like in the evolution thing that wilderness is very close to our heart, and we tend to feel comfortable in wilderness. So it's good to go and try to find wild places, but it doesn't have to be wilderness as such. But for somebody, it's tall grass. For other person, it can be some shrubs in the corner of public park. But those are places that spark some imagination and creativity. So look for untamed places. If you are outside, just stop the children, stop them, play games that are more like in the meditative mood. The slower you move, the better, and the more you are open to your surroundings, and you'll definitely see and feel nature when you are moving slowly. Apparently, on foot is better than on a bike, and it's better to stand than run. But if you have small children, it's enough to let them sit on a stump, and of course be around, but just observe what the child is doing, and they will calm down eventually. This is very much connected with nature alone, because only if you shut down all the voices, it can be like your internal voices or the external voices, you can truly experience nature, and you can foster your relationship with nature, because the relationship is very personal and intimate thing for everybody, and it's different for everybody, and everybody needs to find his or her own connection in their own way. So just find a quiet place, listen, meditate, and we have a lot of activities and games to this point. Adela will talk about it later, but with all the children, it can be, you can just send them into the woods or within some kind of an agreed area, of course, so that it's safe, and give them some task that can be specific, but it would be connected to your senses, to just be there without having the temptation of being distracted by, you know, like naming things and putting them into some categories.
Okay.
And Adela, do you have anything to add?
That is my turn now. It was a general summary of what is important to gain that close relationship with nature. And we have made entire ebook on, these are lessons on sensitivity to trees and to nature overall. And I will now tell you on what you can do with your kids. You will try, or you can try activity Hello Tree, and yeah, I can talk about this. You should have done it before the first trip to measure your trees and buds awakening, but next time, or you can still do it. It depends on how your children like the experience outdoors. If they are comfortable with various activities around trees, you can make it with them even if they are 15, but it's designed for those who are 5 to 8. It's based on that you want them to first foster the imagination and to come in contact with trees before they go and measure anything. You have probably chosen a place you are regularly visiting with your class. And if you want to bring them closer to the trees, you once make a walk during which you greet the trees. You can stop and talk about their possible name, what age they can be, and it starts the thinking process in children. It can be fun for some of them. It can be useful for you so that you see a bit inside their heads, like how do they perceive the trees? Are they something they want to come in contact with, or are they something like, oh no, I don't want to invent a name for something which stands there all the time and is of no interest for me? That will be the first experience for them and for you, how to think about them differently than, okay, this is oak, Latin name is Fagus sylvatica, and you measure there this, and that thing. And after such walk, you choose the borders of the area you want to map, and children can form groups, or they can make one map in together, and they can choose if they will draw it with a chalk on the sidewalk, or they can make it with pencils on normal paper, or maybe the best thing is that they can make a natural model in the nature right where you are. They will have some sticks or whatever they find and make a model of that small place you are measuring. And this is probably somehow connected with geography skills or with arts. You can take advantage of that. Outside there are no subjects, everything is connected somehow, and maybe you can talk with teachers of other subjects to join you and to guide you through the process of modeling, for example. And every time you make an activity like this, it requires reflection, so that the things the children like showed you, and they opened some space in their heads, they also have to close it somehow, so that the thoughts are in the right places and they remember them easily afterwards. So now in this reflection, you can talk about the models. What was it like to make them? What are the tree stories? For some kids, it can be really interesting to imagine what's the name and the age of the tree, and what can he possibly feel, or what is his story, how long has he been growing. Imagination very nicely. So it was first activity, Hello Tree. And now you will maybe need the kids to release some tension after the indoor classes. Outdoors is perfect for this, because every time you go out, children can run, and they really need it, although it seems they just are okay with sitting all the day and watching various screens. But it's not true. They have inner tension after too many sittings, especially some kinds of children like me. We suggest activity called Tree Islands. You come to your place among the trees, and you will explain them that now they are in the middle of a stormy sea, and the only islands they can save themselves on are trees, their trunks, and the places as far as their crowns go. So some trees or some islands will be very small, and some can have 5 or more meters in diameter. And this will help them to recognize how big actually the tree is. It's very good to take a short walk before the game so that they recognize where the islands are. And then you shout loud, high tide, and the sharks are coming. If there are some usually boys who are really energetic, they can make the sharks, and they can run after those who are not hidden on their islands. First step is to find one island each, and then you can continue and make different rules. You can even use the real shark. If you want to upgrade it, so you can specify which type of island is available and which is not. It's very variable. There can be deciduous or coniferous trees. They can hide themselves under shrubs only. Can find out trees who have visible roots or whatever. And also children can make the groups. So first, this was one island each, and gradually it can be in pairs, in triplets. The children have that group perception. How do we do that? That we run in three and everyone of that group can be saved. So not only sensitivity to the environment, also they strengthen their empathy. You can evolve the game in different, that you play it in different environments, in the park, in the forest, wherever you go. And it's also important that you first play it on the flat terrain, which is safe, because some kids really aren't that skilled to run on slopes and over obstacles. So you can play with it very nicely. Time you go out, you can play it for a while so that they release their tension. Of course, you can also draw a map of the sea and its islands. Some children will like to add pictures of various trees. They will like to draw the shark maybe, or their schoolmates running, and so they can even make a comic. And in the reflection, it's very good to talk with them afterwards. How did it feel to be alone on the island rescue? Was it better in pairs, or was it different in groups? How did you like creation of the map? It's important that they know what is the thing they like the best. So that was 3 islands activity. May you have any questions to whatever, just share it in the chat. I will try to respond to them. Another very nice activity is My Neighbor the Tree. Let's wait for my papers. I'll get ready. This is very nice activity to use this than just the side. You will need touch. You see, the players will form pairs, and one of them will have scarf, will be blindfolded, and the other is guide and leads the first one to a tree, whatever tree. it's better that they don't lead them directly to the tree, but they can make any way to get there. Then the blindfolded one will examine the tree with all the senses except the sight, so that so he can smell it, touch it, know how thick it is, how harsh is the bark, and so on. And then the guide will return with the blindfolded and uncover the eyes, and they must find the tree they were examining. So it's better that the way isn't that straight. Of course, you have to tell kids that guides are responsible for their partner's safety. You must tell them not to make any jokes like go straight on and here is branch. You can then tell them to exchange the roles and play again. It's very good activity for the group. They can even exchange in the pairs if they wish, and you have time enough. And after this experience of finding the tree, they can also make activity My Place, where they spread to different places, everybody alone, and they get some quiet time to be able to, or just watch, or to think about the past or whatever. And then you come together to reflect it. What was it like to find a tree while you were blind? For some, it can be the first experience of this kind, not to see. Yeah, and you can ask further what was confusing, what helped me, if it was the touch or if it was the smell or whatever. Another very important sense is our smell. It's very nice to start again with some guesses, with opening what do they have in their heads. So which sense will I probably feel in the forest? And they will try to express it or by drawing or by talking or writing. And then you go to nature. They will smell it. They can talk about what is pleasant and what is not. And after that, they will make their own nature perfume. And I will show you very easy way to make their own cup for fragrance. If you have papers by hand, please don't hesitate and make it with me. It's a square. Some of you maybe know it already. You fold it like this, and then you only make, I hope it is visible. You fold it 2 more times. It's easy to find on YouTube. If you make an origami cup, it's the easiest way to make your own cup. And then you just, these triangles fold like this, and you have a cup. Every child has his cup, and they go and would try the various smells. It's nice to now I'm missing word Rosennote. Lenka, please help me, Anna. Smash it, maybe. Some things smell when you smash it. So they find few pieces of natural things which smell nicely to them. They put it in their cups, like this. This is autumn experience, but of course in the spring it's also very nice. There are many flowers, as Brian mentioned. And then it's good to test it, to share the perfumes. They can put the name of the perfume on the cup, and you can continue with talking about do we really use trees or shrubs in the perfume industry or in medicine? Maybe some of them will remember the roses. Maybe some of them will remember some fruit or some wood, like sandal. And after this discussion, when you have enough, it's time for reflection again, which can be, do trees sense some smells like we do? And you are for sure aware that there are scientific proofs that trees communicate through fragrant chemicals. They tell each other, wow, there are some bark beetles, and so on. So maybe this is a great opening for chemicals in trees. And I have two more activities. One will be very short. I suggest you very strongly that you use the place in nature among trees for eating. And you can use some tree products for it, or you can bring your sandwiches with. But really, if you make this activity like common for kids, they will very relax and chill in the nature. After eating, you can make one activity more, which is writing down the ideas on what is edible or drinkable from trees. So you give groups one large mug, a spice jar, and a plate, and they write down ideas on, well, what can we make tea from, what do we use as a spice, and what is edible from trees or shrubs. Then they share the ideas. This was picnic very fast. And then one thing which is an opening for another scientific research, and this is tree hugs. And it's not just hugging a tree and talking with it, but it's estimating whether the trees in your locality are similarly aged, like their school class, or if they are of different ages. And the focus is not on the real age, because you cannot tell the real age by measuring the trunk, but it's opening for talking about the overall condition of the stand and its diversity. So you define a space, divide the children into groups, and give them a tool for tree huggers method, which is the following. I hope you all can see it, that it's a very nice method for kids and very easy one. They don't need anything except their hands. They can measure if this is a grabber, if this is a choker or a cuddler, and they can give them their own names, of course, but it's very fun. And you divide them into groups, and they go in the same area. They go and measure their trees, and they make the statistics, and then they can share and discuss if the trees were all of the approximately same age, or if it was varied. And of course, you will continue with discussion which is better and which is more natural. And don't forget that some trees are so strong in some places that they make these even aged monocultures on themselves. It's very interesting. But for the most of the natural forests, it's normal that there are plenty of variety of tree kinds, and also the ages vary strongly. Oh, sorry, go back. And maybe this was a big discussion and it was a lot to remember. So now it's time to release the tension again, and you can play bears. I suppose you all know this game from your childhood, but just to remember you, bears is when you hang on the tree strongly. And so you tell children, now it's bear time, and they must hang on the tree and not fall down. You can give them variety of this. A very good reflection for this activity is on a tree. Please let children climb on trees wherever you see it's safe. So the branches are strong and so on. It's another perception of the natural environment if they are not just watching the tree, but climbing it. I remember from my childhood that it was my favorite activity whenever I was in forest. I was always climbing some trees, and in their crowns, I was just dreaming. My imagination ran through the forest. That's very, very important. So these were the activities I wanted to give you, and you can use them immediately. As I told you before, we made the Trees One ebook, which was focused on the experience and love for trees. We continue with creating and caring about in the second volume, and in the third one we go into the science, but we think that it's very necessary first to fall in love, and then later to gain some knowledge about the trees.
This basically illustrates the way we think about it, that it's really well worth giving kids the time to feel comfortable in nature, to get accommodated there and have the positive experiences, because they will be, when they grow up, they will be in charge. And how are they supposed to protect environment and nature if they don't know it, and if they don't have any positive feelings toward it, and any close relationship developed with it? And I think it was very nicely visible even in the chat when you were going back to your memories and to your places and your experiences. The senses were there in I would say, like, in all of them. There was the wind blowing, the trees smelling nicely, and so on. You felt the warmth of the sun and the salt from the sea and so on. So it very nicely documents that the sensory memories are really strong and deep within us.
Yeah.
And for us, actually, the next step after we accommodate children in nature, the next step for us is not doing the science straight away, but we create. We work with them by hands, and children Children experience nature as a place that sparks creativity and inspiring place. And they use natural materials, they craft around, and it can be some art, it can be writing a poem, it can be crafting birdhouses or whatever. But we give them the space to work with natural material that is very uneven. You can't really find two stones that are the same. So they have to be very creative and even cooperative, because it helps the cooperation a lot. And only in the third step, we proceed and go to the science as such. And that's the place where we measure, we observe, we count, we notice all the natural phenomena, and we try to spot the problems in the environment around us, and then it leads to the action. And the focus on our immediate environment makes us very powerful, basically, that the children can feel that they can actually try to change something. Now, we can't do much about rainforests, but we can do a lot about, you know, our own garden patch and the creek just, you know, behind our school. I think it's time, basically. So we have a lot of resources on our website. You're very welcome to go there and to get some inspiration. If you click on the lessons, there are some lessons that can be downloaded. And there was a question about the resources. All the activities that Adela was sharing were from the ebook Trees 1, the one focusing on sensitivity, games and activities around trees. We have also the YouTube page, so we can get some inspiration even from videos. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any questions, we'll be glad. I think it's all from us, because we don't have more time. We'll go, right?
Yeah, I think we still have some time left, some few minutes, and I want to thank you for this amazing presentation. It was really interesting, I think, and I could read a lot of positive feedback, so I believe it was interesting also for our guests, and we heard a lot of ideas and inspiration, so I believe you as a teachers will be able to use them while you are visiting your tree, while you are going to observe how is it changing in the spring. So you might try also some of the activities that you heard today. But I will not keep talking. I will let you speak. So perhaps you have any questions to what was talked about today. So please feel free to write into the chat, or you just unmute yourself and just speak out loud.
Can I say some words?
Sure, Marie, please.
Yeah, hello, welcome again. Really, it was an amazing presentation, and you see, and every day I think how it's very important to raise awareness about the nature, about love every leaf, every tree, every plant in our life, because if we will not care about it, really, it will be very difficult disaster in the future. And from this small children garden and small ages, we will talk to our children that we have to care about them. You see, it was very like a heartbreaking photo when we hug all plants, all trees, and it really was very, very warm and very interesting presentation. And really, and wish you the best in the future. And really, we have to work together and to care about the nature, and we have to save our nature. Thank you. It was amazing.
Thank you, Marie. But yeah, please keep in mind that before we raise the awareness, we must bring children to the nature so that they can fall in love with it. Only then they will like to preserve it.
Yeah, of course, sure.
Any other questions or comments? In the chat, I see a beautiful quote that we must leave the world a little better than we found it, from Powell.
Thank you very much
Amazing idea.
to sharing your ideas. It was very interesting and brilliant.
Thank you, Lyudmila. Was it you who always wanted to have a tree house? I saw in
Yes,
the comments.
yes.
Very nice.
Yeah,
So I hope that all of you will have in mind that you were raised up in the nature, and nowadays kids don't have such an opportunity as we did. So please bring them close to nature, let them experience what they need.
Slowly and nicely. Positive experiences. Yeah, I'm sure that, you know, being a teacher, you probably have some experiences with children being really terrified just by, I don't know, like sitting on the grass. They get scared that they are going to be eaten by ticks or mosquitoes and, you know, some wild creatures. So it really takes time and slowly bring them back to nature, because they really don't have nearly as much time as we used to have when we were children with the outdoors.
Nice picture, Helena.
Yay!
It is, it is. In the very last moment, I would like to share with you one more resource that you might find useful when going outdoors. It's a bit different type of observing. It's not about raising awareness, but it's about exploring your trees. And it's a website called Leso Diverzita, which is kind of forest diversity in the Czech language. I will share my screen and show it to you. It's a website that was created by Czech Agricultural University, and it's about trees as a microhabitat, as a place for other animal or plant species to grow. And on the website, you can find an overview of different like signs of microhabitats, of yeah, how to find actually that there is some animal living on your tree, in your tree, or around your tree. So here are some ideas. It contains also a gallery of species, so you can just share this with your kids and try to search. When you go to see your tree, you can search if you find any of these or any of the signs of someone living close to some animal living close to your tree. So it's just a very quick one last idea for today. And yeah, so if there are no more questions, which I don't really see at the moment, then I would like to thank you so much for joining us today, for being here. And I would like to invite you to share your experience. If you go out with your students, if you try some of your activities, just let us know about it. It will be really interesting to hear how you enjoyed. If your tree is a choker, cuddler, or a giant, and so on. So you can write to the campaign discussion forum, as you probably already know. And you can also write to us. I can forward your messages to Anna and to Adela as well, or your questions, if any come later on. And there will be one more opportunity to meet and share within the spring campaign. And it will be a final webinar called Our Spring with Trees, which will be organized on the very last May, so May 31st. And this webinar will be about sharing. It will be your time to talk about your experience, about your findings from the spring. So it might be also about how your kids were aware about nature, how perhaps some of these activities that you heard today were useful, or how the kids enjoyed. It can be really included in your presentation and sharing. And yeah, with this invitation, I would like to thank you again, and also to our speakers, Anna and Adela. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. So have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I think we will definitely leave this world a better place when there are so many teachers interested in going out.